I think India has afforded very little opportunity in everything, not just in music. It's done itself grave injustice because it hasn't developed its population. It's content to be very mediocre, and as it opens out more and more, it's unfortunately, I think, been picking up the worst of the Western world, including primetime TV and other shows and things. This is a common indicator for me of what it's picking up and the products coming to India, rather than what's best in the Western world. And China managed to put its finger on the pulse in a much more intelligent manner than I think India has done. And I think if they could incorporate in Indian education, and the way piano is taught in India is reflective of Indian education. They teach the syntax and grammar and structure and form and of music, and nobody teaches music, and certainly nobody teaches you how to play an instrument. And if India focused hugely on world-class education for the world, not just for Indians. This is very important. It became a hub for education and music education because it's got the space. When you and I were in Dholpur and we returned to Delhi airport, I mean, my jaw dropped. It was a 6-hour drive through parts of India that I wouldn't ordinarily see. And I mean, the amount of wasteland, just miles and miles and miles. And I just kept thinking, I mean, if you've got architects and artisans who can put up buildings like the Taj Mahal and put up, you know, great big palaces, can you imagine having a series of those that taught medicine and literature and the humanities and music, and both Indian and Western? And I think it's got tremendous potential, maybe for your generation and mine, to come together and bring in world-class teachers the way China has done, and attract the best talent to the country. And then they in turn would be able to, they have the acumen to pick the best people that are best suited to that particular discipline, and then train them to the highest levels. And I think that's, of course, lacking. And everybody's working in individual pockets. All institutions there are, in my opinion, very mediocre. They don't have a vision for the future. They're not going anywhere. And when I come west and I study with legendary teachers, both here in England as I did in France and Italy, you really feel that you're missing out on something. A huge chunk of your life is going by, and there's a feeling in India that you're missing out. And I don't understand why this should be.
So we need to encourage all the millionaires that we have in India to give a proportion, or even a small amount of money towards the arts. Even if they just start coming to concerts, they will realize the value of it. Go to the opera, go to an Indian classical performance. I mean, I don't think that all the performances at the NCPA in Bombay are sold out. We need to encourage audiences, and I think people, instead of going to restaurants of an evening, should go to a concert and then have a quick bite somewhere.
In London, there are, I suppose something like 1,000 music graduates every year trying to make their own work. If you also include all the international artists, the very, very famous Kissin, or whoever it is who's Lang Lang, whoever's coming through that week, that's a huge number of people battling for, quite a small population. Now, what can we learn from that in India? Transfer that to India. There are almost no people trying to get the attention of 1.3 billion people. Okay, forget 1.3 billion people, let's just talk about Mumbai. 16 million people. And it's a pretty blank table. But everybody's saying, or I'm hearing everybody saying, there are no opportunities for us. What are we going to do? And what I really want them to say is, this place is full of opportunity. There are 16 million people here. There are much more generous patrons, both practically speaking, if you need a piano to be placed in a venue, or indeed in terms of support, than there are in cash-strapped London. There's a much better economy. What we need to say is, look at how they're creating work, and let's create work here in India similarly, and make use of this natural resource, which is a huge, huge and growing middle class and a disposable income. So in that sense, I would say that's very clear.